Hey guys, we're doing one of my Q&As that's not planned. So I just quickly stick the camera on. I've got 45 minutes. Let's see what happens. Okay, I've just done my video for today, my Instagram video, my post. I'm using, if any of you guys are interested, I do get questions about this. This is the camera I'm using for all of my YouTube videos, not the live at the moment. I tried to use it for live. It didn't work that well. So I've swapped over to this from my Canon camera I was using, and it's amazing. So it flicks over between like portrait and landscape. It's just fantastic. Quality is amazing. So much easier to use. And the microphone that comes with it is awesome. So it's got a mic on it. And anyway, yeah. If you're into content creation in any way, I'd highly recommend that. I'm not getting sponsored. That would be nice. I'm not. Let me just turn it off. So no plans for today. I haven't really trained today. I just done a YouTube video and I've just done a Instagram video. So a little bit of training or some reps and sets involved in that. Wasn't it turning off? So no plans. Jump on, ask questions. Let's see what happens. I will keep training until we see a question. Well, I'll start training, should we say. Because I didn't have a crazy session yesterday, I can do a bit of everything today, both bent arm and straight arm. So handstand push-ups, presses shouldn't be too much of a challenge. Rosie is here. I have car issues at the moment, so my bonnet's up, but Rosie's there. Good morning from Germany. What time is it in Germany? It's 1:40 p.m. in Australia at the moment. Okay, this is what I've done. Let me just show you what I've done for my Instagram today for the video just now. Went through some progressions super quick because my Instagram is like 10, 15 seconds long, so it's not a long one. But basically I went from this position, having the chest against the knee, heels against the butt, and then push up. So you go up into like a tuck planche, and then carry on rolling all the way up through your tuck handstand to your handstand. And then I came back down through that same direction. And then I said, if that's too hard, we can assist ourselves a little bit. So I'm going to push off the toes, lift the hips up. So it's a hair, then I bend the knees, and then I press up. And then if that's too hard, we can do very similar. We're just going to use momentum. So I'm going to push off my toes and jump at the same time. So think of this as like a coiled spring, and it's just going to open up and I'm going to fly up in the air. So I push up to that position. So some good progressions there if you're close to those tucky press type positions. 7:39 in Germany. Yeah, I mean, I've got family in the UK, so I'm pretty, I know roughly the time zones and stuff. Any questions, any training questions, guys? Anything you want to kick off with? No questions? Let me do, what should I do? See what handstand push-up, hand planche type movements like. So create some space for my planche attempt. So handstand push-up should be okay. Hat gets in the way a little bit of that peak. And then let's attempt some sort of straddle-ish planche. It's not going to be pretty. No. That's where I'm, as far as I'm warmed up at the moment. Any training questions? Anything you guys are working towards that you're stuck with? Balance. Straight bar handstand, a good way to also improve normal handstands. Yes, I mean, it's a bit specific. I find with straight bar, I haven't done a straight bar handstand for some time. I probably wouldn't be able to balance on it with at least, I don't know, 5-10 minutes of practice. I'll probably be able to balance on it. It takes a while. I wouldn't specifically train it for a standard freestanding handstand, but there's, it's a fun way of training. but there'd be quicker ways to improve your freestyle handstand. Making sure your tuck is strong, your straddle is strong, your transitions between straight, tuck, and straddle, and then underbalance exercises. I'd put underbalance exercises as number one. So learn how to use those shoulders in the freestyle handstand over the straight bar handstand. However, practice the thing that you enjoy the most, because handstand is all about consistency and repetition. So if you enjoy it, you're going to do more. So sort of find your pathway to the skills that you're working towards. Good morning, Paul. The most difficult thing to learn is one-arm handstand or handstand press. One-arm handstand, from a time point of view, most people will get a press, within, 12 months, you probably get a press handstand. Most people will get some sort of press. If they dedicate themselves to that, one-arm handstand could take 2 years plus to get really strong on it. But again, it's down to what your body's like and what you enjoy practicing the most, because it is that consistency that makes the biggest difference. But there's a lot more people that can press handstand than there is one-arm handstand. How many times a week did you practice muscle up? Muscle up came relatively quickly because I trained a bit of CrossFit before I got into this style of training. And then so I had a really dodgy ring muscle up that I learned at CrossFit. So then when I got into calisthenics, it just needed to tidy it up. And I've been playing with some false grip bar muscle ups, not even knowing, even looking into calisthenics or anything. So that the muscle up came relatively easy for me. But now, I can't do a super strict non-false grip muscle up on the bars. I can't do now. I have to use a bit of a kip to do a bar muscle up. If I use a false grip, I can normally get a bar muscle up strict, and ring muscle ups are pretty comfortable because I teach them a lot, so I can do them normally all the time. But muscle ups is quite straightforward as well. Just get very, very strong in your pull-in. A little bit of flexibility through the lats and pecs as well to help through the transition. Rep out transitions, eccentrics, and then yo-yos. If your pull is strong enough, especially a false grip pull, you should be able to get a muscle up pretty quickly. Where did you get your rack from? I'm about to do, but similar and start in the garden. Get dip bars. So I'm in Australia, Flex Fitness. They sponsored me, actually, so they gave me all my equipment for some social media work, and just I've got links all down in my social media as well for all the Flex Fitness stuff. So I really like their stuff. It was what I was going to buy anyway. That's why I reached out to them. It's a very simple rack because I wanted to be able to move it around. The only issue I have with it is if you look at the clearance, it's very close to the ceiling, which means I can't move it outside without taking it apart. I was hoping that I would be able to just turn it over on its side, take it out the front, and be able to do, bar muscle ups and things, where I actually have to take it apart to take it out. So I have to unbolt it and stuff. So that's the only thing. I mean, I could cut it off slightly off the top, and then I'll be able to tip it over, but it's the feet that stop it, so I can't turn it over. So Flex Fitness, I got it from. If you're not in Australia or New Zealand, though, just anything similar to that. One of the squat racks that's not too, that you're confident you can you can move around on. Some of the real cheap ones that I've seen on Amazon and that are not the best. They're not the most stable. What have I done? I pressed the button. How I get pancake stretch. Pancake stretch is all about time. You should see, I've got some videos on it where I show my before picture. So when I was 37, my straddle pancake looked like this. So I was in this position. I couldn't move it outside of that. So stretching your hamstrings every day, stretching your pancake every day, I'd highly recommend, and sit in this position. So raise your butt up. If you're super tight like I was, raise your butt up on something to sit on something so you can get a flat low back in that direction, and just spend time here. So obviously we can do all the stretches as well. So you can do straddle good mornings and go in and out of the position and try and increase the flexibility during your training session. So whether you're resting when you're training, sit in the position, hang out in this position, as much as possible. But also in the evenings and stuff, like watch TV in this position. I played with the kids in this position, worked on my laptop. I spent so much time and still do in that position to keep it open. So that would be the biggest thing, would be to spend time in the positions you want, both the forward fold and the straddle pancake. I put a hamstring video up yesterday. That's another one that will literally change your practice. You know, if you want press handstand, if you want good entries, like straddle planche and stuff like that. So to be able to easily get into that position, look, there's your pancake. But that's not going to happen if you're miles away from a flexibility point of view. So I highly recommend spending time there, and spending time in your forward fold will transform your calisthenics, whether it's bar work, rings, handstands, anything, just becomes way more efficient. Uh, 75 millimeter thickness. I'm not sure what the thickness is on that bar. I don't think it's 75 mil. That would be big. You mean the bar? I haven't got anything to measure it with now. But it'll be the standard. It'll be on there. If you click the link, and you can go and you'll be able to see what mine is. But that's just a standard pull-up bar, unless you mean the posts. You might mean the posts. Yeah, the posts, the ones that are very dodgy, have a join in the center. So they come in lots of pieces, and then they have a bracket that holds the center together. I wouldn't use one of those. I just use something similar, and it's very unstable. I actually don't mind the that red bar I've got there. The one that's a really good one to take in and out of the garden and stuff. It does move around quite a bit, but I bought that was like $50 off Facebook Marketplace. And that's really, really good for just taking apart and taking out in the garden and moving around. You've got to be careful doing anything dynamic on there, but I can bar muscle up on it and do pullovers and stuff. I wouldn't do any ring work on it that demands an angle, though. That's the only thing you'd have to be careful of. Oh, yeah, the posts. Yeah. Yeah, I can have a look on the link. That will tell you the size of the posts there. I'd say that's the standard posts that were if you buy like a CrossFit rig or something. Straight arm handstand press is so hard. What muscles I use for that, because we need specific training for it. Yeah, and I wouldn't think muscles. I would think more specific training exercises for it. You can sort of get overwhelmed when you start to think about muscles, especially when it comes to straight arm strength. Because if we do something like the opposite movement, if I'm hanging and I pull myself up into a front lever, like understanding how the lats and all that work is really complex. But if you just do the movement, normally the eccentric will give you fire all the right muscles and show you what pathway you're dealing with. And that's the easiest way to work out what you need to work on for the press handstand. So if I do an eccentric, so if I start in a handstand position here, and then I slowly lower down. So I need to have a straddle handstand to be able to get into this position, or some sort of froggy tuck position. And then I need to be able to roll through the hips as my legs come down. My shoulders will come forwards. Now I'm rounding through the back. My spine rolls down till I get to that position. So that's going to identify, do I have the flexibility to come down, or do I have the control to come down freestanding? If I don't, I need to do that against the wall. And then start to build the strength in the shoulders going forwards and backwards. So that underbalanced control. So see my shoulders are forwards here. I need to build this strength because my shoulders need to go through that in the press handstand. And then I also need to have that movement in the legs, in the spine, and in the hips. And that's where the eccentrics are going really slow through that will help. Yeah, you can go up against the wall. So I can do, my hands are turned out. I can practice that shoulder movement there. And then when I'm against the wall, I'm pushing into the wall. And then I can practice that slow rolling down through the spine, through the hips, until I get close to the floor. And then see if you can lightly touch the floor. So if we're falling through those movements, you're probably lacking flexibility or control. It's normally a bit of both. But keep working on the freestanding handstand, especially the underbalance. Keep working on the straddle hip mobility. And then that will just get closer and closer to it. I've got videos that go through all them. How do we know new level in calisthenics? How do we know new level? If you're very new to calisthenics, is that what you mean? I've got lots of videos on it. Just research different things. I would start with the basics, so making sure that you can do push-ups, rows. Again, I put a video up about 2 or 3 days ago, like complete basics: rows, push-ups, squats, deadlifts, lunge pattern, that type of thing. They're the foundations, and then building on top of that, the dips, the chin-ups, skin the cat. So starting to understand straight arm strength, and then going through basic handstand type movements. But it depends on your goals. But I would make sure that everyone can do dips, chin-ups, skin the cats as a minimum, and then whichever direction they want to go in, they'll have like the building blocks for that. But those like main exercises, the bent arm pushing and pulling and the straight arm pushing and pulling, and then the mobility is key sort of to open that. And that's something you can keep slowly improving on as well as you go. Thank you. And thank you for your support. You're always there commenting, which is awesome. What's one advice would you give if you start over from zero? I just started calisthenics workout. I can't hold handstand and can't do muscle up as well. Consistency is number one. Don't rush through it and becoming like, I think I made pretty good progress when I got into it. Is yes, I was working with some great coaches and had people around me that were learning the same skills, and it was sort of like a great atmosphere all the time we were learning. But I was also coaching. So when you're coaching, and I was bringing up people along for the journey, and they were people that some people were like more advanced on certain things than me, and some people were very beginner level. So then I was learning as I was teaching people as well. So I was going, okay, I can do this drill, but they can't do this drill. Why can't they do that drill? Oh, it's a mobility issue. Then I'm going to work on my mobility. So sort of becoming a nerd about the movements, find all the progressions, all the stepping stones that you need to work, and then slowly make sure that you're not jumping big gaps. Make sure you know the next progression for each skill, and then hit your flexibility, mobility work all the time. That makes a massive difference. If you're already flexible, fill the gap with strength, so more mobility work. If you're not, just really just hit those hamstrings, hips, shoulders, upper back, and then just keep with those basics and just build on top of it. And also can become clear on your goals, the things that you want to achieve, because everyone is slightly different, and just sort of do your journey. How do you warm up for how long on the handstand, or can you do it without any warm up on the spot? Great content. I found you days ago. Awesome. Thank you. Yeah, so a very fast warm up is normally okay for me. I do live in Australia. Like, it's winter at the moment, but look at the blue sky. Like, I'm not cold now, temperature wise. If I was temperature wise was cold, you obviously want to heat the body up in some way. So some sort of movement to get the body warm. And then I just do a small wrist prep, and I'm normally ready to go. So I literally just put my hands down on the floor. The thing I warmed up today with before I started doing a YouTube video that I just filmed, all I done was the Cossacks. So open and closing the hips in this position. So to open up through there. And then at the same time, done some wrist work. I needed to demo a handstand push up as well. So I just went through a few pike push ups just to get some blood into my shoulders and my arms until that felt okay. But because I've been doing it so long, I can normally kick up into a handstand no problem, cold. But then I can feel my body and go, okay, my wrists feel a bit tight. So maybe I need to do a little bit more wrist warm up. So I'll just come down on the floor and just make them happy. And that time I do on my hands or on my shoulders or whatever I'm warming up is determined by how my body feels on the day. So if I feel tighter, because you've got to remember, like I'm about to turn 48 in a week's time. So my body, if I don't do anything, I definitely feel it. But I train multiple times, or if you don't call it training, I do movement multiple times a day. So I might be jumping up. I've got an online clients, so I might jump up and demo something for them. I might be playing with the kids. I might come and do a workout. I might do a YouTube video. I might do a live. So I'm constantly doing that. So warm up wise, it's much easier to warm up in that way. If I was working behind a desk all day for 8-9 hours in a cold climate, you're obviously going to need a different type of warm up. Your top 2 mobility stretches for handstand press. It would have to be a forward fold or Jefferson curl. Jefferson curl is really good. I put a video up yesterday on that covered the Jefferson curl with the hamstrings. But basically just making sure that your hamstrings are long. So here, the Jefferson curl articulates the spine as well when you go down and then lengthens. So that one. And then also there's just the straddle position, the straddle good morning. So a straddle good morning can be done in a standing version. So there. And then all you're doing is closing the hip down and coming back open again. So good morning position up and down. And that can also be done seated. So they're the 2 that I would do. So forward fold position and a pancake. You want to be able to get nice and deep in your pancake position. So like without warming up, that's where mine is. I've done a warm up for my handstands, but I haven't warmed my hips up apart from those little Cossacks I just done. Jefferson curl, forward fold position. Those are the 2 I would do. And yes, 10 minutes is easily enough as long as it's consistent. 10 minutes isn't enough if it's 10 minutes once a week. It needs to be 10 minutes every day or every other day at least. And that should make a difference. But your body will tell you or show you if it's enough. Because if you're not progressing, then you're not doing enough or you're doing the wrong movement for you. For some reason, your body doesn't like it. In calisthenics, we see the upper body development very fast, but underbody, lower body, yeah, we focus mobility, less strength. Is that good or not? It depends on the individual, what your goals are. Like I come from a strength background. I've always been strong in the legs, and I still occasionally do deadlifts just to check that especially at my age, I just want to check that I can still lift something heavy off the floor. So I would still make sure that I can rep out, I don't know, 160 kilo dumbbell deadlifts, that type of thing. I would build a strong lower body through deadlifts and that type of thing, and then maintain it. I wouldn't be doing lots and lots of strength training to get strong in the legs constantly with calisthenics, because the issue of doing it all the time is that it's very hard to become very good at calisthenics if you've got big legs. So it becomes a decision. So it's very much an individual thing. But from a functional strength point of view, I think that everyone should be able to lift heavy things off the floor, whatever they need to do. So it's very dependent on the individual and what your goals are. But if you train things like pistol squats and stuff like that, if you can do a pistol squat, then you should be you've got relatively strong legs, but you're not going to win a powerlifting competition. So it depends on the individual. Any other questions, guys? Anyone stuck on anything else? I'd highly recommend, if you're working at general calisthenics movements, having a frog or crow to handstand is a great skill to work towards. If you're not working towards that, I recommend you are. Else, to shoulder stand, that type of thing carries over to so many different things. All right, so can you analyze my last short video? You're giving me tips to get one-arm handstand faster. Which progression can I add that to my daily routine? Can you send it to me now? We'll see if we can get it up. Is it on your Instagram or on your YouTube? Is it a YouTube short? On your YouTube. Let me see if I can find it. 1 minute. It's not letting me click on your profile. ZZ. So this one. It's pretty. Okay, so if we look at, see how far your distance is on your hands when you go into your one arm. Is that the video you was talking about? Yeah. Okay. So your position for your one arm handstand. So a really good example is, so if you think for a one arm handstand, I need to be in this position and as close to this as possible. So elbow and shoulder in, and my body is stacked on top of this base of support here. So that's where I want to be with a one arm handstand. Your position straight away is here. So when I'm in that position, for me to get over to this side, see how much shift I've got to go in this direction. So what we don't actually want is the whole body moving sideways in that direction. We want the body to come into the same position. So if I bring my hands closer together, I can't handstand. So when I'm here, so now watch my right elbow and shoulder comes in towards the midline as my feet go over to one side. That allows me to put all my weight into this side, so I'm here. So I'm bringing this in this direction as my hips and my legs go over this way, but down. So this becomes into the midline as opposed to this position, and you're doing this. So that's going to take you over here somewhere. We don't want to go a sideways movement in a one-arm handstand. It's about shifting in towards the midline for me to come up. Because in your position there, you're going to be here, and you're going to have to go like this. And that just carries on in that direction. So you're more to fall out to the side. So first I would focus on trying to bring your hands in closer together. And then when you do shift over, I would be bringing your elbow and shoulder in to the midline there like that. And the same there. So I'm bringing that hand, that elbow, shoulder in towards the midline like that. That will make a massive difference. You're obviously strong in your hands, but your position in your hands at the moment for like handstand push-ups, planches and stuff like that is the same setup as you're using for your one-arm handstand. What I would do is I would have planche, handstand push-up, hands there. My one-arm handstands are here. So I have to make very small movements to do my one-arm handstand. Here I can do my handstand push-ups and presses and stuff. Can you practice in too much handstands? Taking 30 minutes a day hinder general recovery? Or should I just listen to my body? Yeah, you got to just listen to your body. It's so individual on how much you can push your body. I've been on my hands every day for the last 10, 11 years. And but the volume goes up and down. So I naturally will have days where I don't train that much, but I'm just play around on my hands, demo stuff for clients and stuff, or do content as opposed to hard training sessions. And then other days I'll do 1-2 hour training sessions, and they'll be much more intense. So, but you've got to just listen to your body. I would do something towards your handstand practice on a daily basis, but it doesn't have to be a hard handstand session. It could be a stretching session. It could just be, a 10-minute quick play on your hands. It doesn't have to be a full-on long session. What do you do for active recovery? Because I coach so much, my active recovery is teaching classes, coaching people, doing demo videos, doing my YouTube. So yeah, I'm just and stretching. Stretching is probably the biggest thing, especially as I get older. That's the biggest thing. Like in the evenings when I'm playing games with the kids and stuff, I'll be stretching as well. Yeah, so have a play with that one arm handstand. You'll make progress because you're really good on your hands already. Just give it time and don't rush it. Do your long fingertip holds. Do I recommend to stretch before exercise and after? I recommend to stretch all the time. So, like, you could argue that I'm stretching now. So I'm sitting down talking to you guys, but I'm sitting in a straddle position. So I would do a stretch, the minimal amount of things you need to stretch before you can start your practice. So if you're going to do handstands, you need to stretch a little bit of the hips, a little bit of the shoulders, a little bit of the wrists, make sure your body can get in a straightish line for you, and then go on with your practice. But while you're practicing, rest in your stretch positions. And then I'd normally finish. I wouldn't do a long stretching session at the end unless for some reason you have to back off on the strength. So if you have to back off on the strength, decrease that, don't do any more strength sets, and just do a good stretching session. Or do stretching sessions separate as well, but I would do them as well separate instead of on separate days, but not on the days when you do your strength work. I would mix it up and do it as much as possible. Appreciate your dedication. Thank you, and thank you for your support. Paul, currently I accomplished forms of straight arm and bent arm push. I try to polish them and learn tuck as I feel help me on the road for handstand push-ups. Yeah, definitely tuck handstand is one of those movements. I should put more content up of my tuck when I was learning it. Like, it's still not amazing, but it was the movement that I struggled with the most. For me to get 5 tuck downs from straight to tuck in a row took me so long to get it. But it is one of those movements, and because I was really tight in the hips, tight in the upper back, I had nowhere to go on both sides, so it was really hard to get a good tuck position. But I would definitely, it's something I would definitely encourage people to train because it does make your handstand so much stronger and definitely helps you towards presses and handstand push-ups. Really enjoy your videos, bro. Thank you. Your explanations are really simple to understand and follow, which really helped me a lot. That's awesome. What training frequency and time session do you recommend if I want to master only the static handstand? I'm 44 years old and train for strength 3 times a week other days. It really is dependent on you and how quickly you're going to learn the handstand. I've had people that I've seen people that just learn things really, really quickly with very limited training, and they just add it in occasionally. And then other people that are training all the time, and it will take them, a year or two to get a 10-second handstand. So it is very, very individual. If you really want a handstand, you should be that passionate about it that's the driver, and it should be more of an issue that you want to train it all the time. I would be doing something most days towards it, because the cool thing with handstand training is it's especially whatever level you're at, it can be very, very basic. A one-arm handstand is so simple, but it just needs thousands and thousands of repetitions. The same as a 2-arm handstand. You literally just need to become an expert at the back to wall drill and the chest to wall drill. You do those 2 exercises, the pulling off the wall with the fingertips. So for the back to wall, doing this one, kick up to the wall, look down to the floor, push through the fingers, squeeze the body, make sure it's one segment, push off, and be able to go back again. So I'm pushing off by using the fingers, or I'm pulling off by using the fingers, and that reach up. So become an expert at that, and then do the chest to wall version, which is this way around, and then learn to pull from the wall with the shoulders into your handstand and go back again. If you become an expert at those 2 drills, you'll have a 60-second handstand, but you have to become an expert at it. So, yeah, a lot of people think they can do those exercises, but when you assess them, they've still got work to do on them. So the 60-second handstand will come if you become an expert at those 2, but you do need to just bang out lots of reps of them. But like I say, it can be very simplistic, 10, 20 minutes, and do it 4 or 5 times a week, and you should have it. Should I be learning handstands a bit wider since it's easier? I'm a beginner on powerlets. Also, I know we recommend the planche method to save underbalance, but on powerlets, can't you do it with on the wrist? Yes, but the shoulders just want to be very dominant in your handstand. So I'm a big believer of the shoulders being the controller of the handstand, and the wrists and the hands as well. So that's why we do that drill. So see those two drills we just done there, exactly the same on powerlets. You need to be able to control the overbalance and the underbalance. The overbalance, whatever method we're using, whether we're using parallel bars or the floor handstand blocks, the overbalance has a very small catch compared to the underbalance. So that's why I recommend people hang out more in their underbalance, especially because that's where we kick up from. But it's exactly the same thing on powerlets. So yes, to answer your first question, I would have a wider position. So if I'm going to go on powerlets, you want to have the position of your hands is determined by your flexibility. So if your flexibility is here, when you go into a standing position with a more of a tucked under position, if that's what you can do. So a lot of people will try and go here, but it means their body looks like this. So when they go into the handstand, their body buckles and it's really hard to hold. So going wider for beginners is normally the way to go because it creates more space. You can have slightly bent arms as well, just to give your body a little bit more out. But then in the underbalance on the bars, if I'm going to kick up to handstand, I'm still going to kick into that position. See, I'm underbalanced there, and then I can open the shoulders and be more stacked. But if I still keep pushing that over, I don't have much. Like I'm nearly falling now on that overbalance. But if I bring myself more to here, or even make it a little bit banana like that, so that position, that's slightly underbalanced. And that's what I would recommend you do with the shoulder position when you're learning. So let your body relax, but still have control in the handstand. Guys, I've got about 15 minutes left before I need to pack up for school. Not to go to school, to pick up my kids from school. Rosie is here, by the way. She's fast asleep. Which one is easier for you, handstand, powerlets, or floor? Handstand on the floor is easier for me for most skills. You could argue that you've got a bigger room for balance. Like if I want to do handstand to planche or something, I could probably come down with a little bit more control on the powerlets. But yeah, floor, I've just done way more repetitions. I did get to the point with my one-arm handstands where my blocks were way stronger than the floor. So my consistency, like I could always kick to one-arm handstand on blocks. That was when I was doing lots of repetitions and practicing it a lot of sessions. Now I'm not practicing. I basically don't do any one-arm handstand training properly. I'm just maintaining what I've got at the moment. So the floor is probably my go-to on one-arm handstand as well. But definitely two-arm handstands, the floor is easier for me just from repetition now. I don't use P-bars as much. If I practice the planche method on the wall, will it automatically transfer to my handstand? Because I feel like I can't do the planche method in freestand as easy on the wall. Yeah, look, at the moment, you probably, if you are a beginner, the back to wall, the chest to wall version is going to be scary to your body. You might not feel it as scary, but your body's going to feel like unsafe in that position. So it's harder to learn. As you become stronger with the handstand, the chest to wall one becomes much easier and you get much more quality repetitions. So that's probably all that is at the moment. So I would still practice back to wall more often than chest to wall until you get to a level where you can really control the chest to wall one. So even though I think it's a better drill in terms of giving you a handstand, the back to wall, you sort of have to go through that rite of passage with your back to wall first and just learn that. But the cool thing with the bars is that you can pull yourself around a bit more. So I can be in a little bit further away from the wall. I can pull off to that position, and now I can go a little bit too far. Now I'm using my shoulders, and that planching method and then pull back to my handstand, go back to the wall again. So I would train it that way as opposed to too much chest to wall to start with. I just tried a tucked handstand on a parallel bar at my house, about 120 centimeters high. Unfortunately, I fell forward twice. I can't do a handstand away from the wall. Yeah, you have to using handstanding on higher bars and stuff. You sort of obviously there needs to be a prerequisite in terms of learning to exit and control the position. And so I'd recommend if you're new to training on parallettes or parallel bars, to use the lower bars. So like I've got there. So those are much safer to play with. Get comfortable with those, and then have a distance that you can fall from while you're learning. So it's the same as if people get canes and things. They tend to be very high. And if people don't know how to exit out, so if they haven't done things like handstand push-up training, shoulder stand training, and things on the bars, it's a big thing to learn all at once. So yeah, keep it safe and use the wall as much as you need to start with. And make sure you video anything where you fall off as well, because you get lots of views on falls. Thank you. We have a new member. Thank you for joining. So if you are a YouTube member, you get access to the Discord now. So I've started a Discord for my app users and YouTube members. So jump on the Discord if you are a member. There's a link in the community post thing on there. And you can jump in on the Discord and then send me videos, ask questions and stuff on there. I know I try and answer all my questions on the comments on YouTube and stuff, but that and Instagram, sometimes I get behind, or messages and comments and stuff can get lost. So the Discord at the moment, because there's not that many people in there, I will see every message. I fall forward when I attempt the straight arm press. What should I do? So you want to be looking at your hip position relevant to your base of support, so where your hands are. So when you're in that press position, so here, it wants to be about pushing down on the base and not just planching forwards. So if I just do this and keep going forwards, I'm just going to go to a point where I collapse forwards. What we've got to be thinking about is the shoulders become like the base of your handstand. So when I get to a point where my toes are about to lift, my upper back and shoulders need to be doing all that work. So this is doing all the work. And it's exactly the same as like in a deadlift. If I want to pick this bar up, my hamstrings and my butt is doing all the work to lift the bar up. It must be exactly the same. If I just keep leaning this way, I'm going to fall backwards. It's exactly the same in a press handstand. So becoming very good at those wall leans. So those ones, hands turned out, in and out of that position. The under balance handstand drill, so be able to hold in that position. So that's super important. So what you start to see, though, people that have been on for a few minutes now, is a lot of my answers to these questions are nearly the same thing for a lot of the movements. So the under balance position, that planchy position, this position for handstand push-ups, for press, and for handstand control, this position, to be able to hold there, is so important for the press to stop you falling over, for your handstand entries to be consistent, your handstand push-up to have a strong position you can move up and down on that creates that triangle. The shoulder stand position, exactly the same. Just want to say you're a big motivation. Awesome. Thank you. Struggle a lot with the handstand push-up and think about how easy you're doing them with 40 plus, and this gives me confidence. Yeah, you got to remember, like, I've got one of those personalities where I become very nerdy on things that I'm into. So like, I haven't just been training for the last 10 years for these movements. but I've been teaching them, and I've also become a nerd on them. So, researching, watching videos, and working with different people, and so that's a big part of it. But then that just shows you as well, like there's people that are way stronger than me, and I can do more handstand push-ups than them, or I can do more presses than them. So it shows you that it's about technique and the skill of the movement as well, not just brute strength. So that's my goal: go into my 50s and still be able to do these movements. Hi, Paul. Do you ever have done a deficit forearm stand press in between boxes? Deficit forearm stand. I've never seen that and think it requires big amount of strength. No, not. I don't think I would be able to do it. So the trouble is with a forearm press. So even for me to forearm press off the floor, it's really hard to get my hips in the right place because of my upper back shoulder mobility. So I don't think I would be able to even get close to anything deficit. And I'm assuming you mean deficit as your forearms on the box or something, and then press up from there, because you can't planche your shoulders over so fast. So it's really hard to do that. Yeah, don't break your neck. Bro, I watched your planche videos, tuck to advance, and no, I can planche. Almost one arm, 3 to 5 seconds. Good day. That's awesome. Is kick up the best entry for a beginner? If tuck up is better, how should I go about learning it? Yeah, kick up is normally the way to learn. Occasionally, you'll get people that are very comfortable with jumping. Whichever variation you use, you want to think about you're going up to handstand, not over. So the wall can make you sort of smash into the wall a little bit too much and send you over. Where we want to think about you have a strong base and then you kick up on top of the base, or you jump up on top of it. So it's exactly the same. So imagine like there could be a wall here, so I could be doing this to the wall, but the technique needs to be exactly the same if I'm freestanding than it does if I'm against the wall. So if I go into this position, my shoulders are on top of my hands, my focal point is looking straight down, and I create that strong base, and then I kick on top of my base. It's really simple. But if I kick like this and run forwards into the position, I'm going to throw myself into the wall. So we don't want that. I want to have that strong base. If I'm going to jump, exactly the same. Hands, shoulders, strong base, jump on top of the base, and then I'm there. So that was really quick and simple. But I've got lots of YouTube videos on jumps, but I would recommend you do kicks very lightly to the wall. But think about that strong base. Video yourself from the side and check that you've got your hands in the position. Your focal point is looking down at your hands. Your shoulders are directly on top of your hands. You have that strong foundation, and then you kick on top of the strong foundation. Feels like I can't nearly kick up hard enough. Yeah, so that's normally there's not enough strong. Your base isn't loaded enough. So a lot of people, if you can be subconsciously scared to kick into handstand because it's like your body's not used to being inverted, being upside down. So a lot of that will be where you keep too much weight back into your legs, and then when you kick, you still keep the weight backwards. So you'll see a lot of people. I'm going to exaggerate, but you'll see a lot of people will do like that because I've got no weight in my hands, or my weight's still staying backwards. So it doesn't matter how hard you kick, your body's like saying no to going into it. So building strength and confidence in the chest twirl handstand. Using a wall, put your feet up on a box, like slowly build confidence and control in that inverted position, and then it will just become easier and easier. I can hold 10-second wall handstand. That's awesome. So whatever you're doing, just like if you can do a 10-second wall handstand now, aim to get a 15-second wall handstand next. So just think where you're at and know the next progression, and then build up to it. I hear people say keep your face looking in the same position every time. But when I kick up, once I'm in position, my head naturally moves backwards. Yeah, so just work on that. That will come with time. There's going to be some adjustment. Most beginners, when they kick up, their head and shoulders move to a totally different position. But just make sure that then when you do your next repetition, you reset your position again. Because if not, if you're constantly changing your head position, your distance your feet are away from your hands, your shoulder position, your width of your hands, the setup changes every time. It's so hard to fine tune and condition the position. But if you keep everything stacked and the same every time, it's much easier just to fine tune and get better and better at it. Guys, I've got like 2 minutes and then I'm going to have to sign off. So is there any other questions, feedback, video requests, anything? I'm as nerdy about the content creation as I am about the handstands. So I enjoy doing it. So if there's any videos or anything you'd like to see, let me know. Any other feedback? Rosie, sit down. So dog going past. Rosie, sit down. She thinks she's a guard dog. Sit down. Sit down. Okay, where were we? With weight shift, is it better to start using the wall? Currently, I like 30 seconds freestand in. With weight shift for one-arm handstands, if you're working one-arm handstands, yes, you could play on the wall. I recommend everyone starts away from the wall, though. It's very humbling. It identifies where your weak areas are and really identifies if your two-arm handstand is strong enough to go to one arm. Most people aren't strong enough, and it doesn't mean you shouldn't start the one-arm journey, but I would still prioritize your two-arm handstands with a little bit of one arm sprinkled in. And then over the months, if not years, you increase that percentage and the one-arm handstand suddenly becomes a bigger thing compared to the two-arm handstand. But I would recommend you don't go do too much against the wall at the moment. I don't think it's the best way to learn. I would go away from the wall, especially on those earlier stages, which sort of sounds silly because the wall, you'd think you'd need to use the wall as a beginner. But if you go into one-arm handstand, your two-arm handstand should be your wall, basically. How can I do the shrug thingy from the kick up? And what about scapular position? The shrug thingy. I'm not sure what you mean about the shrug thingy. I would just be pushing away. If you mean it's the open and closing position, I just practice your slow kick ups and keep the shoulders on top and push the floor away. So you want to just push the floor away and make yourself very, very strong. Don't worry about scapular positioning. Just think push in a handstand. Don't get confused by that. What can I do for imbalance between left and right shoulder lat tightness, aka overhead mobility? It just means that you're close to your like 1 rep position. So I would focus on trying to increase your overall mobility. And then when you go into a handstand, you'll have extra space on both sides. You always have an imbalance between left and right. So if it's not causing pain, I wouldn't worry about it. I would just keep working on your mobility and it will get further away. It's like doing a squat. If I put 200 kilos on my back and try and do a squat, you're going to see my imbalances. So one of my knees is going to drop in. My hip's going to twist over to one side. But if I put 100 kilos on the bar or 50 kilos on the bar, it's going to look like a nice squat. So it's exactly the same thing with handstands. So just increase your mobility to a point where your body's in a really good position and it's got room for error. And then you won't see the breakdown so much unless you get to that 1 rep max position. Many thanks from Mexico. Thank you. Should I brace my core and posterior tilt from the kick up? Not overly. You shouldn't need to. It shouldn't be like I'm breathing normally. I'm talking. When you're learning and something's new, you do have to put a little bit more concentration in push and lock. But you don't want to be bracing yourself so you can't move. You should still be able to hold a conversation, but everything should sort of be active. But that shouldn't be a sort of a conscious thing. When do you go live, bro? It's not. I go live when I can. So basically, when I've got a gap and I don't have client feedback to do, or I can't. I did try and get it consistent on my times, but I just don't. It's the plan is to have a plan. I don't know why, but even though my muscles aren't fatigued, I still did way less pull-ups than I usually do on my pull day. Why is that? That's just how the body is. It doesn't never make sense. Like I sometimes feel like I'm going to have a bad day and I'll get a PR or something. So that's just how the body is. What you want to be looking at is your progression and your progress week to week or probably month to month, and then assess it on that, not session to session, day to day, because our bodies just go up and down. It doesn't make sense. You can feel amazing, and it just doesn't happen. Guys, I'm going to have to switch off. Got to get to the school. Thank you for your support. Comment, like, subscribe, suggest videos. If you can, and you want to download my app, become a member, reach out on the Discord. If not, just supporting the video in any way you can. The channel is awesome, and thank you for everyone that does. No, the app isn't free. No, remember, this is my work now. So coaching people, so I have to charge for the app. I charge for my coaching, but that's why I give so much free content on YouTube. There's everything you need to get a strong handstand push up presses, one arm handstand is all free on my YouTube. You don't need my app. You don't need online coaching with me. It's just it's obviously put together in a better way so you can do that. It's just a bit more commitment and also just supporting me. But everything, if you can't do that, everything is free on my YouTube channel. Okay, guys, thanks again. Speak to you soon.